When you think of goated Dragon Ball Z games, the one that often comes to people's mind is Dragon Ball Budokai Tenkaichi 3, Dragon Ball Tenkaichi Tag Team, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, and if you're a psycho for some reason, Dragon Ball Z Battle of Z, cause why not, I guess, right? But today we're here to talk about one of the most goated franchises in all Dragon Ball that oftentimes I feel like it's not in the conversation for goatedness, or it might not be in that conversation just cause it's relatively new, at least as of right now. So this video isn't scripted at all. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm just grabbing the mic and I'm just talking because I'm very passionate about this game, and honestly speaking, I want to try to see if I could record a video like this. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's get it. Dragon Ball Xenoverse came out originally in February 2015 for the PS3, the Xbox 360, the Xbox One, PC, and at some point the Nintendo Switch, but we'll get there when we get there, okay? So Xenoverse was the first game in which you were able to, I guess technically speaking, create your own custom character. Now, there were some games like Dragon Ball Z Ultimate Tenkaichi in which you were able to, of course, create your own characters and fight through the story, which was, I don't say it wasn't really a good story, but it was an interesting story to say the least, right? But I feel like oftentimes when I think of Dragon Ball Ultimate Tenkaichi, the first thing that comes to my mind is the fighting system with the rock, the paper, the scissors, and then the three like punching fist emojis or whatnot. You know exactly what I'm talking about, right? Trust me, you know the game that I'm talking about, and I don't even have to explain it. I feel like when it comes to the whole concept of having your own custom character and being able to tell your own story, it first really started in Dragon Ball Xenoverse. The original Xenoverse was, I would say, in an interesting state, right? The story mode was pretty fun. It was a story in which Trunks summons your character down to, I guess, Cotton City or whatever it's called, right? And essentially your job was to help him save the universe and all of Dragon Ball Z's timeline from Towa and Mira. And essentially how the plot would go is Towa and Mira just, out here effing everything up. At some point, we get introduced to Demigra, which is the demon god of, I guess, the demon race, maybe. And then with Demigra, you kind of get just, that whole ultimate end battle where you fight him and then you win, and that's the story, right? I feel like it's a very good plot for a Dragon Ball Z game. It's like a Dragon Ball Heroes plot, low-key, right? At the time, I remember playing it as a kid when it first came out. I remember going with my parents to GameStop at like 6 p.m. just to play the game, and I had fun, man. The story mode was fun, it was captivating, and everything else that you could wish for it to be. I feel like when it comes to the original Xenoverse, there were just a lot of flaws that I feel like were overlooked oftentimes. And kind of talking about those flaws, I think the first one is just the parallel quest. It was one of those things where at the time, I'm not gonna lie, the parallel quest, they were a fun concept, being able to get all the like hidden endings to every parallel quest, but it was one of those things where after a while it was kind of repetitive, and this is an issue that's gonna come up once we talk about Xenoverse 2 as well. But man, Xenoverse, the original one, it was one of those things where the parallel quests were repetitive, but it was the first one, so a lot of people just kind of give it grace, and even I was like, oh man, this is really fun, I'm having fun, and I don't mind it, right? So that was kind of one of the iffy parts about the original Xenoverse, but I felt like a really good thing that the original Xenoverse did was the customization option. For the first game that was fully just about customizing your own character and telling your own story, they did a wonderful job of having various options and just various things that you could wear, and then each equipment would have their own attribute effect, right? Whether they up the power of super strike attacks or just the power of blast attacks, right? So that was a really cool thing, and I just felt like playing the original Xenoverse was really fun in terms of just the combat and just fighting people online and fighting people in parallel quests. It was pretty fun. However, it was pretty, I want to say, dry to the bones, right? Of course, you had your combos that you could do, but it was also one of those things where after a while, if you got hit in a combo, man, there wasn't really a way out of it, right? And this was an issue at the time, and something that was honestly very well addressed later on in Xenoverse 2. But then in just kind of briefly going through the original Xenoverse, I feel as if one of the original thing in the original Dragon Ball Xenoverse game that did this game a really disservice was just the amount of transformations that you had in your hand and were able to use. It was one of those things where out of every race that there was in the original Xenoverse, being the Saiyans, the human race, the Namekians, and then the Orcosian, or whatever Frieza's people are. I mean, yeah, there's no way to be racist towards Frieza. He's the ultimate racist one. So yeah, whatever Frieza and his people were, no disrespect. But it was one of those things where, honestly, man, the only race that actually had transformation was the Saiyans. And then it was one of those things where the only transformation was Super Saiyan. And then I remember this, bro. Being a Saiyan in Dragon Ball Xenoverse was the most busted thing in the Dragon Ball Z game ever. All you had to do was transform to Super Saiyan, then you could spam attacks until you ran out of ki. And that was so insane, but you could just spam super attacks over and over again, ultimate attacks over and over and over again. The amount of times I remember being a Saiyan and then just spamming Kid Boo's ultimate move of Super Vanishing Ball over and over again just to get to like a stage is insane. For the first game that was really trying to carve its own path in the whole Dragon Ball Z game universe, I guess. Xenoverse did a wonderful job. But then in October 2016, when I tell you the goated definition of a Dragon Ball Z game was released. Like when we talk goated Dragon Ball Z games, I'm talking Xenoverse 2. Of course, there's Ultimate Tenkaichi 3, there's whatever you want to call, but there is no way we're not putting Xenoverse 2 up there with one of the GOATs. Xenoverse 2 came out in October 2016 for the PS4, the PS5, the PlayStation 4, the Xbox Series 1, the Xbox Series 1S, the Xbox One, the PC, the Nintendo Switch later on, whatever you want to call it, it came out on there. Honestly, at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if it was even on the PSP. Originally, this video wasn't gonna be like this, right? This video was gonna be in the Forgotten series format, which is like series where like I just talk about old games that I feel like are forgotten about or just are really underrated. And originally, I was gonna do this on the Xenoverse 2. I'm recording this in December 2025, and I just want it to be known right now, this game hasn't died yet. This game has 7+ years of DLC and just continuous updates to the point where at this point I'm just waiting for Xenoverse 3 to be announced in like 2050, because at this rate, man, I'm gonna be like 50, 80 when this is announced. In 2016, 2016 was 5 years from now, so in 2016 I would have been about, currently I'm 23, so 7 years from now I would have been what, 15, 16 pretty much. Yeah, I would have been 16 pretty much. I just turned 16 that year when this game came out, and I'm 23. Graduated college, I have a full-time job, and Xenoverse 2 is still getting updated. This game refuses to die, and honestly speaking, I can't wait for it to be done. So Xenoverse 2, like I said, came out in October 2016, and the plot of Xenoverse 2 is one where this time around you get to see how Trunks has now recruited more people to help him with just fighting time, and they finally built like a city called Kankan City, where there's just different time patrollers, right? There's different time patrollers in Kankan City, and then your character is essentially selected to help Trunks with not only saving the universe, but learning from him, growing, and just, you know, working with Trunks. And I feel like that was a really cool thing, because you kind of got to see like, oh, after your character helped Trunks out, they kind of realized that, okay, we could use more people as time patrollers to help us in the long run. And now you kind of see the fruit of that. So the beginning of the story is just kind of that. Then you, of course, meet Towa and Mira, and they're just around time stealing energy, trying to power up Mira for, you know, for him to be the strongest in the world, you know, whatever, you know, typical Dragon Ball stuff, man. Essentially with that, you kind of just end up going out of your way to stop them, and through this you meet different characters that weren't in the original Xenoverse games, such as Turles, Cooler, Slug, and just different characters that honestly it's really cool this time around just to see them be in a Dragon Ball Z game, just because it's one of those things where they weren't in the original Xenoverse, so seeing them in Xenoverse 2 was really cool, man. And honestly, the plot of this game, I just felt like after a while I was just like, what the flip is going on, man, right? Because it's one of those things where I felt like in the original Xenoverse it kind of makes sense, like, okay, these are who are stopping. In Xenoverse 2 it makes sense as well, like we're trying to stop Towa and Mira, but man, I don't think it was done properly. I don't mean to sit here and be like the story's bad or anything by any means, like it's a decent story, right? However, I feel like the part where this story could have been honestly done better is if you would have replaced Demigra with the final Mira fight in Xenoverse 2. Essentially what I'm trying to get at is in Dragon Ball Xenoverse 1, they should have made it where the final battle is where you fight Mira after he absorbs Towa, and then in Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 it would have been like Towa's back now and she's trying to rebuild Mira up, and like maybe he got destroyed in your battle, right? So, and in doing so she's getting help from Demigra, who's like this demon god, and then at the end of the story she ends up getting betrayed and yada yada yada. You get to a point where it becomes a thing where like at the end of Xenoverse 2 the big old like enemy, the villain, the main arcing villain of the whole plot should have been Demigra. I feel like that would have made way more sense than having it be Mira who's now absorbed Towa, just because it's one of those things where I felt like I get we were going for that, but I didn't really care that much in the end, right? I'm just nitpicking on that story aspect of it, but Xenoverse 2 story it's okay. It's a Dragon Ball hero story at best. Let's be honest, man, that's how it feel like, right? So I don't mind it in the long run, but again, I felt like there was just aspect of that story that could have been done way better, or just honestly we could have just changed and flipped around with like the original Xenoverse just for the betterment of not only the fans but just the story as a whole. And then in terms of Xenoverse 2, one of the really cool things that kind of got updated was just the mentors, right? And in Xenoverse 1 you did have mentors as well, but in Xenoverse 2 I feel like the system was done one way better, and then two, you would have these mentors now in Xenoverse 2, they give you more in the long run, and then you also have the dual ultimate attack, which is really cool. So I felt like the mentor system was done way better in Xenoverse 2 compared to Xenoverse 1. However, I think there's another step that you could take with it in like Xenoverse 3, a step in which now the mentors aren't only there to kind of just help you in battle, but maybe at various point in the story you could have your mentor out with you to join you and train you, right? So I feel like that would have been really useful. But again, that's a Xenoverse 3 thing down the line. It's not a today thing at all. And with the mentor system, actually came the ability to just not only roam around Kan City, we also had the ability to fly around Kan City. And man, when I tell you it is so fun once you get the ability to fly in Xenoverse 2 around the map, bro, yeah, they killed it with that one. They honestly killed it with that one, right? So I feel like that was a really, really good thing that they did with just the ability of letting you fly around. And then not only flying around, but being able to go like different sectors of the map. You were able to go to Frieza's spaceship. You were able to go to the Capsule Corporation. You were able to go to Elder Guru's house. You were able to go to Majin Buu's house as well. Who would have thunk in a Dragon Ball Z game where I'm the original character, I'm going to Majin Buu's house to feed him so he can have kids, so his kids go out and buy items, which now that I'm saying it out loud, it sounds really weird, but man, yeah, that happened. Not only that happened, that is happening. That's literally what they let you do. You feed Majin Buu, he has kids, and then you put his kids into labor. Yeah, it's a Dragon Ball Z game, I guess. So we're just gonna leave it at that. But in speaking about these different little areas, I felt as if, honestly, it would have been easier if they just did it where instead of now flying to like a platform and then you interacting with the platform to get to a spaceship or Capsule Corporation, it should have been a thing where it's already in the map, so you kind of get to see that like Kan City is a combination of not only just a city that's like full of time patrols, but also a city in which like you could kind of see every aspect of Dragon Ball Z kind of at once in mix, instead of it just being like, oh, now you go to like this whole different area of the map, right? It should have been all mixed into one thing where it kind of makes the map look like, okay, we're in a world where everything is distorted. We're in a world where time doesn't even make sense. So it would have made sense for everything else to just be laid out in the map instead of you having to interact and then going to a whole different area. I'm kind of rambling, but you kind of get the point, right? I felt like it could have been done more interactively with the map. Go to like just the different places to get your transformation, right? So if you go to Frieza's spaceship as a Frieza race or a demon race, whatever they're called, essentially you get to learn the golden transformation from Frieza or Cooler, which is really cool. Or if you go to Capsule Corporation, you get to become a Super Saiyan with Vegeta. I kind of like that part, like you get to have different mentors that kind of help to show like, oh, for your race, this is the ultimate transformation. This is the ultimate form that they were able to achieve. They're teaching it to you. However, if you're not of the race, there's just some of them that I'm just like, this sucks. The amount of time that I have to go to Elder Guru's just to pick up a flipping Dragon Ball, and then he's getting attacked every second on the hour while I'm playing my game is insane. And it got to a point where I'm gonna be honest with you, man. Elder Guru's house, I just let Frieza's race just blow it up, because this man needs saving 24/7. Like, I have a whole job. I have parallel quests to finish, and every second it's like, Elder Guru's house is under attack. Elder Guru's house, like, god damn it, now, like, go do something, man. And then it was one of those things where if you didn't help Elder Guru out in the long run, like for a long time, I'm talking like multiple parallel quests of you getting Dragon Balls on Earth, getting Dragon Balls in Namek, getting Dragon Balls in, god dang it, I don't know, anywhere, man. It's one of those things where it kind of becomes really annoying just because you have to save Elder Guru like multiple times. I'm talking multiple times just for him to let you grow your max level from like 80 to like 120, then 150, then like whatever the max level now is in Xenoverse. I didn't even get past like 80 because honestly, Elder Guru could suck it. And I mean that respectfully because that man sucked. If you can tell, I hated that portion of it, but that's just me speaking, so whatever. Next one, right? Another thing introduced in Xenoverse was the Okai system, or I guess the Okai trainings. Essentially, how this works is at various points in the story, you'll be able to talk to Okai, showing that you get a better control of not only your character, but you're growing stronger, and I love that concept, right? I felt like that is something that they should bring back in future Xenoverse games and just figure out how to make it even better, just because honestly, overall, the system makes sense. There's now so many time patrollers that you have to rank up to be able to not only fly around City, but just to show that you're stronger. There's different rankings, there's different power levels, so it makes sense in the long run. I love that portion of it, so I think they did a really good job with that one. One thing that does return in Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 is the parallel quest, and let me tell you, buddy, they're the same goddamn thing. Excuse my language, but they are the same thing, man. They are the same thing. Now let me tell you, my first time playing Dragon Ball Z Xenoverse 2 was in 2024, and honestly, after doing like the first 2 story missions and then like 10 parallel quests, I got so bored I was like, I'm done. Then the next time that I picked it up was in 2025 on the Nintendo Switch 2, so it was that big of a gap. And the reason why I honestly stopped playing Xenoverse 2 back in 2024 was just I got really bored of the parallel quest, man. It was one of those things where I was so excited just to get back into Xenoverse 2, not only get back into Xenoverse 2, but to finally play Xenoverse 2 for the first time, because I'm a Dragon Ball Ball Z fan if you couldn't tell. And it's one of those things where, bro, after the first 10 parallel quests, I was so just like, I was burnt out. It's one of those things where I did all of the parallel quests in Dragon Ball Xenoverse 1, and respectfully to everybody and their mother, man, I'm bored. I got bored of it, man. The parallel quests were boring when I did them the first time, right? And then the second playthrough around, I was able to get through more of them, but man, if you played a lot of Dragon Ball Xenoverse 1 like I did, the parallel quests are just the same thing as Xenoverse 1, and they are so boring, bro. Like, after the first while, you're just like, bro, I'm tired of doing parallel quests. And this isn't a knock on Xenoverse 2 necessarily, because I feel like Xenoverse 2 has more parallel quests and just more unique aspects of parallel quests. But it is one of those things where if you play Xenoverse 1 and you did a lot of the parallel quests and like you were just that into the game, and now you're just moving on to Xenoverse 2, honestly, after a few while, you're just like, bro, I hate the parallel quest system. It's so boring. The parallel quest system isn't bad. However, I do think in the future, we do need to figure out a different method or just more ways to make them unique. Maybe like having tournaments or just something else, man, because I get the whole point of having parallel quests, like you're going to different timelines and saving them and like yada yada. I get it. It's one of those things where I can honestly see a lot of people, if there is a Xenoverse 3, which there's gonna be 1000%, let's be honest, I can see a lot of people just being bored and just being done with the parallel quest system as a whole, because it gets really boring after a while. I don't mind them coming back in Xenoverse 3, but we need to change how they are, or just their amount, or just something else. Now, moving on from parallel quests, one of the better aspects redone in Xenoverse 2 was the amount of transformation. I'm talking Xenoverse 2 has transformations for every race, not just the Saiyans. And it's also one of those things where as the game has gotten updates, DLCs, and just everything, there's now more transformations around, right? If you're a Saiyan, you could go from Super Saiyan 1 to flipping Ultra Instinct. Every race has so many options now in terms of transformation, but it's still one of those things where the Saiyans are kind of busted, man. Let's just be honest, the Saiyans are really, really busted. And in terms of transformation, something that I didn't say about Xenoverse that was a nitpick of mine that I'm gonna now say in Xenoverse 2's review that we're talking about right now is, as a Saiyan, if I choose a specific hair and I transform, it should be unique, it should be different, it should be a various thing, right? Because let's be honest, Super Saiyan Trunks looks different from Super Saiyan Vegeta. So tell me why every character in Xenoverse 2, we still haven't figured out how to make everyone's hair have their own transformation if they're a Super Saiyan. So Xenoverse 3, I need to see some form of uniqueness, even if it's just like 5 hairs that have that ability. I need it, because I'm tired of me having my hair look like either Vegeta or goddamn Goku. Love them, but I do not care. Or just you recalling my hair white. I don't want it. Now, this is all to say, like I said at the beginning of this section, Dragon Ball Z Xenoverse came out in October 2016. And honestly, this game has 7+ years of DLC. It doesn't feel like it's gonna slow down anytime soon unless Xenoverse 3 is announced at the beginning of 2026. We're going into, right? So unless Xenoverse 3 is announced at the beginning of 2026. Also, it's one of those things where Xenoverse 2, for those of y'all that have not thought about it, has been out, and it has out survived, technically speaking, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, which I know got an update recently, but still, we're gonna count it, has out survived Dragon Ball Z The Breakers, which was a flop in the long run, unfortunately, and it has also out survived Dragon Ball Z Sparking Zero. Now, for all of you who are gonna go in the comments and be like, oh, Sparking Zero isn't that, let's just be honest, it's done. Like, I get it, still played by some people. So Xenoverse 3 has out survived a lot of Dragon Ball Z games. Honestly, at this point, the only game that Xenoverse 2 has not out survived is flipping Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle, and that one, Bandai just refused to let it die. So honestly speaking, I don't think anybody's gonna out survive Dokkan Battle, but man, if there's a game that might do it, it might be Xenoverse 2 at this rate. Now, this is all to say in conclusion that Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 is one of the goated Dragon Ball Z games ever. Dragon Ball Z Xenoverse, the whole franchise in general, is goated. It has done a lot of positive things for the Dragon Ball Z franchise and Dragon Ball Z games going forward. And if we're talking goated Dragon Ball Z games, you have to put Xenoverse in it. You just have to. Whether yours is 1 or 2, whatever you feel like it, Xenoverse has to be in that conversation. Now, did I make this video just to talk about why Xenoverse is goated? You flipping betcha I did. But before we end it, let me talk about my gripes and certain things that I want. So what I really want in Dragon Ball Z Xenoverse 3 once that, finally comes out is new transformations, a better plot, more races, like, I don't know, man, add the flipping Janemba race at this rate. And then have an option for your time patroller to either help Trunks or help somebody else. Or even have other time patrollers that are helping Towa. I feel like Xenoverse 3 should have a plot where there are other time patrollers out there that are helping the evil guys. So you now get to see that this is now becoming an all-out battle to save not only Dragon Ball and all the characters that you love, and making Xenoverse 3 one of those things where now it's more talking to the player's heart and trying to get them to save the franchise that they loved as a kid from people who are wanting to to ruin it for their own selfish reasons. And then least but not last, something that I would love to see more of in Xenoverse 3. Like I said earlier, the mentor system in Xenoverse 2 is way better than in Xenoverse 1, but I feel like there's a really good way that we could take this step. I don't know how to take the next step in that game, but man, that would be so flipping cool. And then make a fusion system, right? Make a fusion system for your character where you could fuse with your mentor or something. For example, I kind of forgot to record this section in the video, so I'm not re-recording it after I'm editing the video. And this is all to say, one of the things I forgot to talk about in Xenoverse 2 was just the new battle mechanism. And essentially what I mean by new battle mechanism is in Xenoverse 2, there's now way more movement, and it feels like you're not stuck in a combo anymore. You're able to get out of combos. You're able to see an ability where people who's played the game more and people who are more in depth about the system, honestly, it's a night and day difference. Like, I'm talking, if you look up my boy C-Reacts fighting people online Dragon Ball Z Xenoverse 2, you'll realize there's levels to this game. So all of this is to say that Xenoverse 2 introduces way more fighting options and way more ways for you to honestly feel like you're in a Dragon Ball Z fight. Just being able to vanish run, avoid attacks, and then just moving how you feel like a Dragon Ball Z character should move. Shout out to Bandai for that one, because y'all really killed it in terms of movement when it comes to Xenoverse 2. Anyways, like I said at the beginning of this video, this is the first video that I filmed in which there isn't necessarily a script. So out of the video, I feel like it's just all over the place. I would love feedback in the comments about if you prefer it being this way, or if you would prefer me just writing a script where everything just flows more smoothly rather than just me picking up the mic and just talking out loud. And this is all to say that I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. And if you like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends or whoever not you want to share with. And I just hope you have a good day, and we're out.